Alright guys, so have you heard they're bringing Broken Sword out again for the Wii, and they're doing it as a director's cut.
What does that mean?
It means they're adding an hour to the beginning of it. So you remember that famous iconic scene in the Parisian cafe where it blows up? Well, that's not going to be the intro anymore. They're going to add another hour to it, and they're going to add a bunch of other stuff throughout the game that I don't know too much about. But Dave Gibbons, the illustrator for Watchmen, has been involved. He's been doing the storyboarding, and he's working with Charles Cecil at Revolution Software. They're bringing it to the Wii and the DS as a director's cut. So this has got me thinking, what do you guys think about the adventure genre? Is it coming back now with the Wii and the DS, or do you think it's a long-gone genre, the point-and-click genre, yeah?
So is the new Broken Sword like a 2D, or is it like the third version they did?
It's back to 2D, yeah, as you remembered it from all those years ago on the PC.
Old school.
Old school.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I think they've always been there, and they've always been there on the PC, but maybe they kind of dropped off in popularity. But the Wii controller and with the DS and the iPhone as well, you've finally got interfaces that really suit this type of game, particularly touchscreen. And that haven't suited the traditional kind of controller for the console. So no, I think we've got a platform which suits it.
And so they had these two groups of Sierra versus LucasArts lovers back in the day in the adventure genre.
Yeah, exactly. It was almost kind of like a Sega versus Nintendo fanboys. It was like, what was better, the kind of toilet humor of LucasArts, or the kind of serious kind of side of games like Sierra, and but it was good. I think both of them brought a lot to the table. If it wasn't for Sierra, I think the point-and-click adventure, kind of genre wouldn't have even been around.
Right, so they invented it.
Pretty much, yeah.
What about you, Mark? What do you enjoy about the genre?
I mean, I was never a big console gamer. PC gaming was my first love, and what really got me into that was point-and-click adventures. I mean, before that, it was kind of text adventures and things like that, stuff like Zork and Adventure. Stuff where you had to kind of use your imagination to actually play the game and enter really cryptic text commands. You could sit there for about 20 minutes trying to figure out how to open a door because you have
examine box,
exactly, and things like that.
Or you'd say turn the light on and it'd be wrong. You'd have to switch the light on or something.
Really irritating things like that. And then obviously then the Mac came out, brought with it the mouse and graphical user interfaces, and then we had Myst, which was a fantastic game, biggest selling game of all time before The Sims, and sold a multitude of CD-ROMs because, I mean, it was like a giant slideshow from what I remember, but it was epic because it was a first-person viewpoint as well.
Game's a generous kind of term for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Depending on your viewpoint.
I mean, it's kind of like playing an interactive movie, kind of, but with a slideshow. It's really weird, but that was an epic game. And then, obviously, from then on, we had all the LucasArts stuff, and I have very fond memories of things like Day of the Tentacle and Sam & Max, and those games were absolutely amazing.
I thought I was free of Dr. Fred and those crazy Edisons forever. But now, I know that I must go back to the mansion.
But also, you look back at these games and they're also very simple and very accessible, and like you could run them on any PC back in the day, like on Sam Max and stuff. I mean, it's got this mix of being pioneering and also being accessible to everyone as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the humour of those games. I mean, things like on the Spectrum, Manic Miner, and there was stuff that had humour in it, but I was never as aware as when those games came out of the funny scripting, the use of puns.
Mind if I drive? Not if you don't mind me clawing at the dash and shrieking like a cheerleader.
Okay, some of it was admittedly quite childish humour, but it was the first games that made me laugh out loud, and actually, as an entertainment experience, that was quite different to the way I'd played games up to that point.
Yeah, it was very novel. It was those games introduced humour into video games, and it's still really not. There's not that much humour in video games now, so
not enough
really
good
stood out. Not enough good humour. Yeah. And is there any games for you guys in the genre that in the point-and-click genre that kind of resonate with you? Is there a classic game that you can tell us a little bit about?
I think for me, the pinnacle was definitely Monkey Island. I think Monkey Island 1, Monkey Island 2 were absolute classics. And again, it comes back to the design style, just the characters. You just really kind of felt sorry for Guybrush Threepwood. He was kind of the biggest loser in town, and everyone could probably relate to him in a few ways. But just the whole kind of swashbuckling adventure story was great. The humour was just, second to none at that stage, and visually I think the game looked great.
Even now, when you look back at those games, they still have a great style to them as well.
Yeah.
There was I've seen some stories around about people unofficially porting these games to handheld devices like the iPhone and the DS.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to do some kind of tomfoolery and hackery, you can get these games onto your portable devices, and because of the screen resolution on those, they look really good. Apparently, I mean, you've got an iPhone right there. You both got iPhones right there.
Yeah.
I mean, those if they brought those games to the iPhones, to the iTunes store, you would buy them, right?
It's the perfect platform.
Yeah, I think, I've seen some screenshots of it on the DS and the iPhone, and because the resolution is small, it does look great. It looks really good. And Myst, of course, has come to the DS and PSP before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And Broken Sword's been on the Game Boy Advance, and now they're bringing it to the DS. It's been on pretty much every platform.
Yeah, but especially the DS. I mean, that's especially with two screens. I mean, you could essentially have all of the commands on one screen and the full screen at the top for the adventure. Because that was one of the things about it back in the day, was that on PC, half of your screen would actually be taken up with all the command boxes. So.
Yeah, and the text and the and all that
Exactly.
sort of stuff. Yeah.
So if you can actually put that onto another screen, that DS to me seems like the perfect console.
I'm still holding out for a little portable version of the Blade Runner point-and-click game.
Is that your favourite point-and-click game?
Yeah, no, the Blade Runner one was, and I think it's a bit of an underrated game. I mean,
It came out late in the... Because I remember
It was
kind of
very late,
Grim
yeah.
Fandango being like the last major PC point-and-click game.
And it was
then
around the same time, maybe just after, but I think of my gaming in terms of which machine I was playing on at the time, and it was my Toshiba, what I spent about £1,000 for. It was a really rubbish piece of crap.
But it was a PC CD-ROM adventure.
Yeah, it was,
right?
yeah. And but that game was amazing. It really captured the look. It had that same, it was 3D but 2D really, with the a beautiful kind of look that really captured the feel of the film. And it was like sort of a continuation stroke remake of the original film with loads of additional plot elements. It was great. That was one of my favourites.
And what about you, Mark? What you got? One that stands out?
I'd probably say Grim Fandango.
Buenos dias.
I mean, that for me was just an absolutely amazing game. After playing through all the old point and clicks and stuff, it kind of got a bit stale. And then Grim Fandango came out and just killed it. It was an absolutely amazing game. The art style, the humour, the storyline, it had everything.
My name's Manny Calavera. I'm your new travel agent.
I don't want a new travel agent. I want to go home.
You can't go home, Celso. You're dead. But you're not alone. Everybody here is just as dead as you. That's why we call it the land of the dead.
I remember like that whole genre was kind of losing its appeal. I remember probably 5 years after, when I was in high school, probably 5 years after I played them, they released the Ultimate Collection, which was like 6 of the best LucasArts games. And ever since then, I've been waiting for them to kind of re-release it, maybe over Steam or something like that. And they've never got around to it. But it was kind of Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, Sam & Max, or the Monkey Islands. Yeah, it was about 6 of them.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, like Steam is a good platform. It's good to talk about because a lot of adventure games now have got Sam & Max, even stuff like on the Xbox Live Arcade, Penny Arcade Adventures, those sort of things are being released episodically. Do you guys think that that's the way forward for this genre, being released, an overall story in small segments?
I don't really like the episodic content.
You feel they're being ripped off a little bit?
Yeah, if I'm going to buy a game, I like to buy a game. That's an issue with the distribution model, though. It's still nice to see the games coming back.
So you're more interested in seeing the old adventure games come back, maybe in full on a portable device. That's what does it for you guys, it sounds like.
I'd say so, yeah, but I think they're dated so much that you probably would pay the same for like a collection of them as you would a normal game, So maybe if they brought, a collection of like LucasArts games, they could fit it onto one DS cartridge or, one small iPhone app.
Are you guys interested in about getting Broken Sword, getting into that game again, or is that one you weren't particularly interested in?
No,
not particularly, but I think the genre lives on with other games, like Phoenix Wright, Hotel Dusk.
Hotel Dusk as well.
Sure, Sam & Max.
Yeah, I love the way you hold it like a book as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's different, but you're still using your stylus, I guess, just to discover things and to explore different parts of the environment.
I think it's great to have lots of new versions. I'm not a big one for replaying games, even if it has got an extra hour of prologue.
That's all for this episode of Start Select, but join us again next week when we'll be visiting the Creative Assembly to look at Empire Total War, and we'll be meeting the developers of the latest Need for Speed game to see how they're reinventing the franchise. We'll see you again next Friday on the next edition of Start Select.